The world has come to know many serial killers, unfortunately. Because of their gruesome acts and media exposure, some of them reach the status of a celebrity in popular culture. Serial killers like Jack the Ripper and Ted Bundy are known all over the world. Some of them seek out public notoriety, engaging with the crowds, actively creating their public image. This is our view on which of those make the most notorious serial killers in the world. 10. The original. Ed Gein was an inspiration for many of the classic horror movies such as Psycho and Texas Chain Massacre. Gein had an abusive childhood, and his alcoholic father and psychotic mother were not the best role models. His family eventually died, and he was left alone in their house, turning a part of his home into a shrine dedicated to his mother. He even made a woman's suit that would make him become like his mother. Police discovered numerous exhumed corpses at his property, as well as the trophies he made from their bones and skin. Gein confessed to killing 2 women and was later declared insane, eventually dying at a mental health institute. 9. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy is quite possibly one of the most famous killers in this list, as he is widely known for murdering 30 white women who were between the ages 15 to 35 during the 1970s. He is believed to have lured his victims by feigning injuries, such as a broken leg, and then asked the women for help. All of his victims resembled his fiancée, Stephanie Brooks, with many having the same hairstyle. He reportedly beaten and strangled his victims to death, as well as engaging in rape and necrophilia. What's even more sickening is that Bundy collected the victims' heads as souvenirs. His girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer, reported her suspicions to the police about Bundy to the police, which ultimately led to his arrest. He was executed by electric chair in 1989. 8. Ahmad Suragji. Ahmad Suragji was a witch doctor from Indonesia that killed 42 young girls over an 11-year period. He claimed the ghost of his father ordered him to commit the killings and drink his victims' saliva in order to become a mystic healer. He buried his victims up to their waists, and then strangled them to death. He was executed by firing squad on July 10, 2008. His 3 wives were also arrested for assisting in the murders and the burial of the bodies. 7. Alexander Pichushkin. Alexander Pichushkin was obsessed with surpassing Andrei Chikatilo's murder record, and so murdered 49 men, most of whom were homeless in southwest Moscow's Bitsa Park. He is believed to have smashed his victim's skull with a hammer, and would attack them from behind so he wouldn't be covered in their blood. Following his arrest in 2006, he asked the court to add an extra 11 victims to his total murder count, on top of the 3 surviving victims that escaped his grasp. He is currently serving a life sentence in prison, spending the first 15 years in solitary confinement. 6. Gary Leon Ridgway. Gary Leon Ridgway is known as the Green River Killer, as 4 of his 48 victims were found by the Green River. The American serial killer mostly killed prostitutes, which he claimed was his career. DNA evidence linked him to the murder of 4 women and ultimately led to his arrest. Due to a plea bargain to disclose the whereabouts of his victims, he avoided the death sentence and was sentenced in 2005 to life imprisonment without parole. 5. Andrei Chikatilo. Andrei Chikatilo, the Russian killer who inspired Alexander Pichushkin, killed 53 women and children between 1978 to 1990. Known as the Red Ripper or the Rostov Ripper, he is believed to have committed the murders for sexual satisfaction, and ultimately mutilated many of his victims. He was convicted on the murders in 1992 and was executed by gunshot in February 1994. 4. Yang Xinhai. Many serial killers are often called monsters, but Yang Xinhai was known as the monster. That's because he killed 65 people between 1999 to 2003. The Chinese killer reportedly raped his victims and DNA evidence led to his arrest. He was executed by shooting on February 14, 2004. 3. Carl Eugene Watts. Carl Eugene Watts was an African-American serial killer that murdered 100 white females, all of whom were between the ages of 14 to 44. He is thought to have committed his first murder at the age of 20 years old in 1974. Watts kidnapped his victims from their homes and went on to torture and kill them. He originally admitted to murdering 12 women when he was arrested in 1982, but he later changed the number to 40 before implying that there could be 80 victims in total. He was given a 60-year life sentence at a maximum security center in Ionia, Michigan, but he died of prostate cancer in 2007. 2. Luis Garavito. Luis Garavito is a Colombian killer known as the Beast and was responsible for the rape and murder of 140 young boys. The media described him as the world's worst serial killer, and he was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment once captured, the maximum penalty in Colombia. However, his sentence was later reduced to 22. He reportedly drew a map in prison to indicate the locations of his victims' bones. The count exceeded over 300 locations. 1. Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman is not only the most evil serial killer in the UK's history, but he is quite possibly one of the most evil serial killers in the world. He is believed to have murdered over 250 people. 80% of the victims were female. The well-respected doctor drew suspicion when his colleagues and local doctors grew concerned over the high death rate in the area. The victims' bodies were exhumed and the post-mortem shown that traces of diamorphine, heroin, in their system. The investigation found that he deliberately injected fatal doses of the drug into a large number of his patients. He also forged their wills to inherit their money and completed cremation forms to destroy their bodies and therefore the evidence. The trial judge gave him 15 consecutive life sentences and recommended that he never be released from prison. However, he hung himself in his cell at Wakefield Prison in January 2004. That's all for today. Join us next time by subscribing and hitting the bell notification.